And bonus. Welcome to the bonus.
Bonus.
Did you earn the bonus?
It's our first one.
Bonus. Brian's at the bonus. Thanks for coming, Brian.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back after our long talk.
And
indeed. Yeah, lots changed in the hours and days and years since last I was on the podcast. So
it's like riding a bike. We clearly had this great relationship, and we just jumped right back into the conversation like nothing changed.
Like that, like it's the same night, kind of like Halloween to Halloween 2.
It's almost like that.
Yeah,
almost.
It
like
feels
that.
exactly like that.
Is it like that? Wait,
we're even wearing the
is it
same
just that?
stuff, man.
Is it just that?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you guys just had like a Steve Jobs like uniform going on, like wear the same thing every day.
I'm wearing my Beer Freak shirt. I mean, Derek isn't even.
I'm wearing the Seed, a living beer project.
I don't even know what that is.
Yep.
I don't even.
It's in Atlantic, like outside of Atlantic City. Somewhere.
Let's move past it.
Yeah.
We're done with your
because
shirt.
you have questions, Stu.
I have,
and I think Brian has answers.
Brian has answers. So
I might have more questions. Actually, we don't know that. Let's get into it, though.
I hope Brian has some questions. I won't be able to answer them, but I hope he does.
What is the meaning of life?
Isn't it 47? I thought, or
42. Yep.
Didn't we all establish that it was 40? It was 42.
Yeah.
42.
Who doesn't know that?
I said 47, didn't I? God, I've had too many beers tonight. This is why this is a bonus episode. And moms are not allowed.
Moms everywhere. Enjoy us.
Oh, boy.
One, two, three.
Hi, I'm Stu.
And I'm Derek.
And this is our podcast about all the weird, spooky, creepy things that keep us up at night.
And the one thing that makes us forget all about them.
Ladies and gentlemen,
beer freaks.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, Stu, what do you got?
All right, here we are. So, we had a good time on the standard episode, but Brian has information that a lot of people don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people think about this, and some people do it, and some people try, and some people fail, some people succeed. What I'm talking about, of course, is publishing a book.
And if you want to hear more, dial 1-800 and pay $72.99. Thank you.
And Derek will answer. He'll talk some dirty things in your ear, and you'll finish, and then you'll hang up. And then, but no, I mean, seriously, so I think a lot of people want to do this, including myself. I have wanted to be an author for years.
Yeah.
But I joined the traditional workforce, and then I lost track of time. Here I am, I'm 36. I have a novel that I would love to publish, and here I am talking to a guy who has published a book successfully. It's on bookshelves. It is on marketplaces online.
Yeah.
People are talking about this book. So, Brian, I mean, let me just restate this in case you didn't listen to the last episode or the beginning part of this one. He wrote a book called Man, Fuck This House. He's written several books. That is the one that I think that I've read, that I have absolutely loved, and I intended to buy several more at this point. But Brian has had a lot of success, and I would love to learn a little bit more about his path. So, Brian, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about what you've done, what your journey's been like? I mean, have you had ups and downs? What have you done?
Yeah, definitely. Like everyone's had their ups and downs, and it's been kind of an interesting path for me. It all started, in the mid 2000s or so when I was playing in the NFL, and I was long snapper actually for the Carolina Panthers. And
Nice.
I blew out my ACL. And then after I finished lying about that at the bar, my friends were like, "You're really good at convincing people of bullshit, so you should probably start writing books."
Oh my god, dude! I really thought you were playing in the
I
NFL.
totally-
Jesus, man, that was awesome.
My brain was already working overtime. I was like, oh yeah, I think I remember that name in the
Holy
NFL.
Yeah, you're,
Like
yeah, you're
brain
like,
already
remember
made
the one
like
play where the long snapper got fucking pancaked and like got carted off the field.
Jesus. Well, your
yeah.
delivery was perfect because you just boom right
well
into
done.
it.
Well done.
Yeah, I mean, I just I do the Eric Cartman thing where I convince myself that like I'm right, and then it makes it very easy to lie to people. But I've gotten all the lies out of the way. Everything I'm about to tell you is 100% true.
Love it.
Yeah,
I don't believe that for a second, but I love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna or as true as it can be, because I believe there's actually no such thing as pure nonfiction. Even things that are explicitly nonfiction are slightly fictionalized because we don't actually know what happened in any given circumstance. But anyway, not to get too postmodern with you. So I've always loved reading. I've always loved writing. As a kid, I would I'd be playing with like my GI Joes and shit, and I'd make up new names for them, new scenarios, new worlds, and just kind of create new stories and things like that. My mom read to me every night, so I think that was a big part of like what made me love books and things like that. But I was always like, I want to create my own. I want to make up my own stories. Sure. And so I always wrote to like some extent, but in college I majored in English because I didn't really I was like, I don't know what else I can do for 4 years. Oh, I like reading books. Let me just do this, and I had no direction, no purpose, anything like that. And so after college, I just kind of like dicked around a lot. And I drank a lot of beer, a lot of beer.
Welcome to the podcast.
But it was fun as fuck. I had a really good time. And then I would write off and on basically. Like I had like a novel I was writing for several years that I got like 40,000 words into and just never really made anything happen with it. And so I ended up reaching a milestone age. I turned 35 and I realized that like in my mind, I was always going to be like a famous novelist by the time I was 35. And like this age just kind of crept up on me. And I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? That was nuts. And so I just made a decision. I was like, I need to change my life completely. Otherwise, I'm going to be 40 and nothing's going to have happened. I'm going to be 45, 50. I'm going to be 85, maybe. Probably, let's get real. Probably, I'm going to be 67 and like on my deathbed. And like nothing will have happened for me in life that I ever wanted to do. And like, so I became very aware of the fact that I was dying moment by moment. And I decided to make a change. So like that year, I decided I was going to try to write every day. And while I didn't succeed, I turned it like, I basically treated it like going to the gym, where you first start going to the gym, it's kind of hard. And then once you develop it into a habit, like you feel shitty if you don't go. Right. So I got to the point where like I was writing so much that I felt shitty if I didn't write. And so that year I finished my first novel and wrote like 16 short stories.
Damn, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. And I say that not necessarily to brag, but just to go like, here's what can happen when you make that psychological change. Like when you really commit to it. Like, so the following year I wrote I wrote like 2 more novels and like 50 short stories.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And it just kind of went from there. And so some of the things I did, I was saying like, number one, I was writing a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of it isn't good. A lot of it isn't usable, but I learned stuff with every story I wrote, with every novel I wrote.
Sure.
I figured things out. And so then I started looking into networking and joining so I joined my local Horror Writers Association group in San Diego. And so that helped, introduce me to people. I was on the Lit Reactor forums, which are very cool, where you can like upload work and other people will review it for you. So I did things like that. And then I decided to go get my master's in creative writing.
Okay.
So I joined UCR Palm Desert. They have a great MFA program. Stephen Graham Jones used to teach in the program. He left recently, but it's a very genre friendly program. And like I knew a few people who had gone through it. So I joined the program at UCR Palm Desert, and that's a 2-year program. I also studied screenwriting in addition to fiction, but I grew a lot as a writer, and then I also got my agent out of that. So the networking and stuff was awesome.
Hell yeah.
While I was in the program, I published my first novella through a Racerhead press in Portland. And that was a good learning experience. And then, I talking with my agent, like she was shopping a novel I wrote around, and she was like, you need to build your platform. You need to build your platform. And so I said, okay, well, how the fuck as a writer can I build my platform if I don't have books? Right? Because
my platform, like your social or like?
Yeah, well, social's part of it, right?
Okay.
But it's not all of it. It's building you, And so I was trying to build up my social, but I was like, it's hard to be a writer on social media and not have books to point people to, because otherwise you look like a goddamn poser, frankly.
Yeah.
And that's me. I'm sorry that I don't want to sound mean to anyone out there who's like, getting into writing, right? I don't mean in that way, but like in order to have credibility within the community, you have to have published stuff, basically.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
And so I was talking to my agent about what I could do, and so she was like, why don't you try doing some novellas? And I'll continue shopping the novel, and that novel that she's shopping became 3 novels that she was shopping for various reasons. But so I started publishing novellas on my own. And one of the really key things there is, honestly, if you're gonna self-publish, it's not for everyone, but B, if you do it, I honestly believe that you owe it to everyone else who's trying to self-publish to put out the best goddamn product you can.
Yes.
The most professional product you can. And so that means hiring someone to do the cover art. It means hiring someone to do the layouts. It means hiring someone to edit it. And so I believe, like, if you're self-published, you can still put out stuff that rivals what major presses put out. Because now we have the tools to do that now, but it's not cheap, and it takes time, and it takes effort.
But you're right. I mean, because obviously for years the self-publishing industry has become this sort of like joke of the publishing world, right? For a lot of good reasons.
Kind of. I'm going to push back on that just slightly.
Please.
In that, I think everyone recognizes there is a glut of self-published stuff out there. That's the nature of the beast, right? And but I think more and more now, people are recognizing that there is a lot of quality books coming out of the self-published stuff. So I think it actually is getting taken a little bit more seriously now. I know for a fact that there are Borders bookstores, not Barnes and Noble bookstores, that you can walk into right now, and you can find self-published books on their shelves. That's something that you could not find a couple years ago.
Right. That's the change. That's the change.
It's a change. So people are taking it more seriously. And I think they will continue to recognize the fact that, like, this is a legitimate way to publish. I think readers recognize that now, that they can find really cool shit that's honestly, a lot of people did not know that my book was self-published, because, I professional cover, professional layouts. I create a publishing company name and a logo.
Yeah.
I didn't do that to fool anyone. I did that to make things look legitimate.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Totally.
And honestly, I'm like, is that any less legitimate than if I were to actually found a small press? No.
Yeah.
It's just as legitimate.
You're just the middleman. I mean, you're making it. That's all it is.
And that's exactly it. I mean, but I think your point is taken, where it's like there is a responsibility on anyone who's self-publishing at this point to uphold a level of standard, so that we don't go back to that idea of self-publishing being the joke that maybe it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago.
It was definitely I think back when there were only vanity presses, It was definitely way more of a joke, but with Amazon, Amazon has allowed self-published writers to easily monetize their works.
Yeah.
And so we've seen stuff take off, like The Martian by Andy Weir was self-published.
Right.
David Wong / Jason Pargin, his book was self-published. There have been a number of things like that have gone from self-published to mainstream. I myself, Man Fuck This House, I sold the rights to that to Blackstone. And so they're going to be republishing that along with some short stories. They also picked up a novel of mine that's a werewolf book called Good Dogs. And so,
wait, sorry, just to jump in real quick, because aren't you getting a movie soon? Am I allowed to talk about that?
Yeah. I can talk about it to an extent. Yeah. So I have talked about this on social media. So there is, it's out there in the world. So we're not saying anything out of school.
Right.
But so I did sell the film and television rights to Man Fuck This House. I'm not allowed to say who I sold them to, but it's a major deal. Hopefully it gets made. So I've sold the option. And so I'm not sure if you guys are familiar. Derek, you might be more familiar since you've done some screenwriting. Stu, I don't know if you are, but like for anyone who's not familiar, essentially what happens is you'll sell an option, and that gives the production company X amount of time to either develop or not develop your property. Usually at the end of that time, they can renew the rights by giving you more money. And then if they do decide to buy it, then there's like an additional sale price in addition to the option price, and it's more money and the thing actually gets made and yada yada. So there's no guarantees, but I am obviously very hopeful that the thing gets made, and with who's involved, it would be a very big deal.
Dude, that's amazing, man. Now, did they approach you? Did someone like come to you and were like, man, we love this? That's awesome, man.
Yeah. So when my book went viral back in March, it started getting a lot of interest, like from various agents and things like that. And so my literary agent, I had to talk with her about it, because I was like, I don't know what to do with all these inquiries that are coming in, because I don't know who these people are or like the quality of their operation or whatever, And so she hooked me up with my film agent. And it's awesome. So he scored that deal, and he's trying to sell more of my stuff. And now,
dude, congrats, man. That's huge. Like, I can't even imagine what you're thinking about, like just seeing that from like written words to like the freaking screen. That would be insane.
It's been pretty crazy, especially considering I started writing the book in June of 2021. Or May, either May or June of 2021. It came out in October and then took off in March, and it's just been like,
holy cow, dude!
Wow,
it's been pretty wild. But there are a couple of things I did. Like, some of it is definitely luck, but there are a couple of things I did that helped ensure that I was placed in the best position possible to have a viral hit. And so a few of those things are, which I can tell you right now, as we discussed.
Countdown of the 5. Wait,
yep.
I don't know.
I don't know. Someone keep track of how many things I'm about to say, and then we'll figure out how many pieces of advice it is. But
I'll just hold this up.
And for the 5 things, please call 1-800.
Yep. Yeah. So so $39.99 to blah blah blah. Yeah, but yeah, a couple of things. So one is, as we talked about, put out a professional product. I'm only saying that again just because of how incredibly important it is. If you don't do that, you're dead in the water. So it's totally worth it to do that. That's number one. Having a provocative title helps, but just having a good title, a good title, a memorable title, and cover art that is striking. Like, it's my book cover, for example. It's not complex, but it's striking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's bold, it's simple, it grabs you. So there's definitely that stuff. There are different ways to market. Yes, there we go. Look at that sexy motherfucker.
Look at that sexy motherfucker.
So
Not you, bitch.
yeah, so there are different ways to like market yourself that we can briefly touch on here. I'm not really a big fan of buying ads. I think those are largely a waste of money and that you don't get a great ROI on those.
Yeah.
But so again, literally any advice I tell you, put an asterisk next to and make like come to your own conclusions about whether it's right for you or not. I find the best way to get people's attention these days is through Bookstagram and Book Talk.
Okay.
And so if you have a book release coming out, reach out to popular Bookstagram and Book Talk accounts and try and get them to review your book. Because honestly, some of the biggest sales pops I saw was when someone posted about my book on Instagram. And then
Really?
and then 2 hours later, I'd have like a ton of sales. It's
all about those man.
Bookstagram and Books Talk.
So it's like and don't just reach out to anyone. Like look at the different accounts, look at what they're reviewing, look at what they're into,
Sure.
and then reach out to people who are reviewing stuff. Like, so for example, if you write paranormal romance, don't reach out to someone who only reviews extreme horror. That would be a waste of everyone's time, and definitely always check websites to see if they're open, see what their guidelines are, see what formats they're looking for. Some people only want physical, some people want ebook. It's just completely different, but I think generally you can have like kind of a boilerplate pitch, but what you want to do is just approach each person like an individual. It's incredibly time consuming, but it's worth it if you can do that, and make sure you call people by their correct names and things like that. Like that's basic, but like
wait a second.
You'd be surprised.
Was that a knock on
Asman?
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't even mean that as a callback to earlier.
No,
actually, sorry, I was not trying to call you out.
I didn't think that you were doing that.
Yeah,
but it was still cold. It was cold blooded.
Yeah,
and well deserved though. To be honest, I should have asked.
That's your next book.
Yeah.
So
Oh, go ahead.
One other question for you though, like just to add. So because you kind of jumped into like you and your agent and what you guys were trying to decide to do. How did you find your agent in the first place?
Yep, through my grad school actually. So I was doing a project for my grad thesis, which is essentially just a novel, right? Yep. And my advisor was reading it and was like, "Hey, I think my agent would be really into this book. Can I refer it to her?" And I was like, "Yes, please." And we hit it off, and that's that.
That's awesome.
Generally, if you want to talk about how to get an agent, though, I do have some advice on that, even though I didn't really go through the same querying process.
Sure.
I can offer some advice in that respect. And like I would say, as you're looking at like agents, like looking for agents, think about writers that you admire. And not necessarily writers who write the same exact thing as you, but writers that you have some sort of like similar outlook or similar approach or similar something, similar themes, and see who's representing them, and then you can start forming list of agents from there. But if you do that, and so just get your list of agents, and then just query people, like make sure you follow the query guidelines. And I would only do a handful at a time, because if people do provide actionable feedback, you can then incorporate it into your manuscript. It's a very long process, but that is part of the game. And so I think every writer has to decide for themselves what they actually want to get out of it.
Sure.
So if you're someone who goes, I just want to have a book out. Like I wrote a book and I want to have a book out. Go ahead and publish it, whatever. No one's stopping you. But if you're someone who's like, I want to make a living as a writer, or, I want to make a legacy as a writer. I think there's more very intentional things that you would want to do, and it's a long-term process.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a great insight. And there are two different approaches. There's a million different approaches.
Yeah,
right?
and there's a lot of stuff that's right, and there's very few things that are actually wrong. Like one thing I really want to stress is that there when you're starting as a writer, there are very few mistakes that are not recoverable. They might feel dumb or embarrassing at the time, but like you can come back from just about anything. Yeah. Aside from like I don't know, if you fucking assault someone at a convention, you shouldn't come back from that. But like if you're like generally like all the learning, stumbling, falling down stuff that we all do, like it's okay.
What would be a great example of something you couldn't come back from? Just so Derek knows.
Oh, I mean, just like assaulting someone at a convention would be a really bad. That's something that you should not be able to come back from. Frankly,
that's fair.
Or like, okay, so sometimes you see these on Twitter, but there's some dude going around submitting to querying various agents, and in the submissions, like they'll have questions, tell us a little bit about yourself, and he's writing shit like, just read the fucking manuscript.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Really?
That's not like, even that guy. I mean, write some new shit. Wait a couple years. Query in a respectful manner, and honestly, like some people will remember him, some people won't. But like he's too stupid to do that, so we don't ever have to worry about him.
Yeah, Jesus.
Like I don't know who he is, but he's definitely too stupid to ever do that. So there's I think generally, like, as long as you're not a shitty person to people, you can come back from just about anything, as long as you're not shitty to people.
Sure.
Good.
That dude, by the way, this has been very enlightening for me.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Hopefully anyone who's listening to this podcast get some insights, because I mean, this is from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. By the way, real quick. Yeah. Real quick, by the way, I just remembered my probably best marketing tip real quick, if you guys are interested.
Please.
So I mentioned earlier, when you go to my website, you can buy signed books. And every time you buy signed books from me, you will get bookmarks, you will get stickers, you will get various swag. Right?
I love it.
That is my number one marketing tip. So I would say every time I sell a signed book through my website, at least 1 out of 3 people will repost that on Instagram, and tag me in it, right? And so those people are doing free marketing for me. And they'll just be like, hey, look, I bought a book from Brian, and hey, here, look, he signed it. I draw like a tiny picture in every book I sign. Cool. I got that from like Clive Barker does that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's really cool. I'm going to steal that, and so I draw like a dumb little doodle. I sign my name. I throw him a bookmark. I throw him a sticker, and like they post all that stuff online, and then more people go and buy stuff, because of that. So that's my best marketing tip, is just it cultivates a fan base if you give people free stuff.
And something that's exclusive. I mean, like you said, by the way, you drawing that doodle,
it's huge.
I mean, that's exclusive.
One of a kind.
The sticker is cool.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. The signature is cool. The doodle, I mean, man. When one day when you are the next Stephen King or Clive Barker or even Paul Tremblay, I love that guy these days too.
Yeah.
There are going to be people selling that thing online with like, hey, this is a Paul Trem or fucking Paul Trem. Why did I say that? Brian Asman.
I'll take it. You can confuse me with him all day.
This is Brian Asman's, house that he doodled that has a crack in it, and that's going to be worth like
that's huge
$1,000
just for
that book.
Because you could doodle the same thing, but it's all going to be different.
It's exclusive.
Yeah.
That's what I do, is for every book I come up with a unique doodle for that book, so I don't have to think about it in the moment when I'm signing something. But like, so I already have it, but it comes out differently each time.
Exactly.
But honestly, it's one of those things where like people love that kind of thing. It's a way to bond with fans, and
intimate.
It feels personal.
Yeah.
What do the stickers say?
So each book has its own individual sticker. So the Man Fuck This House one has like a picture of me as a ghost on it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, the Return of the Living Elves one. Well, you'll just have to buy the book on my
We're gonna
website
have
to
to
find
we're
out.
buying
But
the
it's
Don't tell us. We're gonna buy
it's
the
pretty
book.
literally
fucking
buying the
great.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Tonight might
it's
be
pretty
rough.
great if I do say so myself.
I might buy 80 books tonight after all the cocktails.
dude.
So
Do
I'll
it.
wait
Yeah,
till
they
tomorrow
make
to
great
buy the
Christmas presents.
You know what? He's right. We're not buying one book each. We're
a
buying
few
10 books each.
Oh,
we're
God.
getting them for everyone in our families because Brian's awesome.
He is
Brian,
awesome, man.
dude.
Thanks,
thank you
guys.
so much, man.
Thank you, dude.
We really
Thank you.
appreciate your time.
Mm-hmm.
And if you could impart any one piece of advice, last bit of advice to anyone who's trying to write a novel, what would you tell them?
Oh man, I feel like I've just been like vomiting advice at you guys for the last half hour. But the writing advice is a dime a dozen. So I'll tell you this: every time you see a piece of writing advice, put an asterisk next to it. And what essentially that means is like it might be good advice to internalize, but don't ever take it as strict gospel. You know, so if someone says don't write in the present tense, think about that. Yeah. But that's not a rule. That's not a hard and fast rule.
Sure.
Very few pieces of writing advice are. The one piece of writing advice, which I do find to be a hard and fast rule, is read a lot, write a lot, and don't be a fucking dick.
Boom.
I like it, man.
Boom.
Perfect. Yeah.
Now that is a mic drop moment. That is a mic drop. Brian, holy cow, man. I can't thank you enough for your time. You've taught me a ton. And I've frankly enjoyed just having a couple of beers with you, man.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. I've had a great time with you guys. Thank you so much. And definitely next time I'm in Vegas, I'll let you know, and we'll hopefully be able to get together in person.
Please. We'll hit up some good breweries.
Hell yeah.
We'll take you on the tour.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
See ya.
And we'll be seeing you.
Anyway.
And by the way, so generally during these like quick breaks that we have Pepto-Bismol commercials that we run.
Oh, we do.
Nice. Pepto doesn't pay us.
No.
We just make our own commercials.
Yep.
And we're hoping that one day
they hear it.
Pepto, decides to sponsor the podcast.
Hey, you know what they say? If you plug it, they will come.
That's right.
Oh, Jesus. That could go a lot of different ways, Brian.
Yep.
That sounds like the method you should have been doing for that
Sounds like a
commercial.
method. Yeah.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, this is my podcast. This is my podcast.